Hello and welcome to another episode of the NASCAR Extreme Wreckfest Series Championship, where we have officially made it to the halfway mark in the season, which means it is now time for the seasonal all-star event. This season we have allowed Clint Bowyer to choose the schedule, and let's just say he probably had a few too many drinks when he was choosing the car and track combinations. The way the event works is pretty similar to the rest of the events, where the most points accumulated over the 10 races will become the winner, but none of the points transfer over to the rest of the championship. We will also be going to 5 different tracks, doing 2 races at each of them to make sure that there is a lot of variety during the All-Star event, so the drivers won't have as much time to get used to the track as they normally would. So we're going to start things off with the lawnmowers at Tri-Bend Speedway using the chicane. So you're bound to see a lot of injuries in this race because a lot of the AI really like to take a really sharp right in this first corner, and they would go head on into that concrete barrier, as you probably just heard, although I didn't look around to see it. Interestingly enough, Clint Bowyer also pulled out to an early lead, so I feel like he may have rigged this in his favor as somebody else actually collides head-on into the wall. No idea who that was, but that's unfortunate for them. They're probably dead. The first of many corpses we're bound to run over in the 2 races here. You may have also noticed the barbecue of human flesh from all the Fleming lawnmowers down there, but we're actually going to take it a bit too far into this chicane over here, run into a barbecue of our own, and then fling ourselves to our death. I'm pretty sure we broke our spine on impact. And unfortunately our corpse is then going to be run over in the process as everybody else tries to continue on with the race, and we're just going to move on to the next one. So Clint Bowyer is actually going to start behind us in last place in this event, so we're actually going to get a look inside of his helmet, which you can see there is no brain inside of his skull, which is really the only explanation for this car and track combination. And you can see all of the cars hooking it hard right once again, flying on into the barriers, basically taking out half the field immediately. A bit further ahead, we're then going to give Ryan Newman a little bit of a nudge, and we're going to see why his name is Rocket Man as he flings off into the distance, and we're just going to ignore that and continue on with Jimmy Johnson and Martin Truex Jr. ahead of us. You can really smell the burning flesh as you drive by the burning barbecue of human corpses. Moving on to the final lap, we see Jimmy Johnson get a little bit squirrely, and we're going to take full advantage of that, moving ourselves up into second place, but unfortunately there's not a whole lot of horsepower difference going on here between all the lawnmowers, so Martin Truex Jr. is just going to pull away, taking the victory for the second race of this event, but we will redeem ourselves for the terrible ending to the first race. Moving on to the next track, you're going to see that we've gone back to school as we have a lot of buses here at the Norfolk Ring, and unfortunately all the AI chooses to try and ignore this first chicane, and we're actually going to come to a dead-on stop, and you're going to see our genius strategy here is actually going in reverse. You never thought you'd see that in a race, so we can actually outmaneuver these cars that have basically jammed themselves up against the barrier, and it's still not going to go too well for us. We do eventually make it out there, and you're going to see that on the backstretch there's this little fork in the road, and if you're on the right side, this really isn't meant for a bus in any capacity, although I'm pretty sure this entire track was not meant for a bus in any capacity. But we do manage to make it through there, coming alongside Clint Bowyer, whose stupid idea was to actually come here once again, so you gotta thank him for all this carnage going on. The fun thing about driving the buses is that if you ever touch any of these curbs, you're basically risking your entire life because the bus is so top-heavy. Fortunately, Kyle Busch actually lands us back on our wheels there, otherwise we would have tumbled over and probably lost many positions. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Does anybody else see that? Why on earth is a trackside official in a cage? Anyways, we do manage to edge out Kyle Busch here for 10th place, somehow managing to get a top 10, even despite reversing before getting to the first corner on the first lap. Moving on to the second race here with the buses, you're going to see that this time my strategy was a little bit different, and I actually get on the brake very early here to try and let everybody ram their way into the chicane so I can just easily pass them when they inevitably miss it. But my strategy doesn't actually work out too well, as most of them actually do manage to jam themselves in here, as we're going 5 wide with a bunch of buses basically just grinding along each other. And we do somehow make it out on the other side, but unfortunately we do come out worse for wear than we were in the first race, coming out in 13th position battling for 12th, as opposed to the top 10 from the first event. So is this supposed to be some sort of advanced type of torture that I'm not aware of? Ryan Blaney has actually managed to get himself caught on part of the guardrail here, so he's basically become a punching bag, as basically everybody going through the chicane just bounces off of him to maintain most of their speed. Gotta make sure we give Brad a little bit of a nudge so he doesn't forget about us. I know you've probably heard about armchair quarterbacks, but what about armchair race car drivers? As we're going to see Eric Jones immediately off the start here, actually tumbling through the air in his cheetah print sofa. Unfortunately, his corpse is now lying on the floor. Yeah, Clint Bowyer was a little bit tired after the first few races, so he wanted a vehicle that was a bit more comfortable, including a sofa car that can actually do a bunch of wheelies because there's too much horsepower for its own good. The backstretch area here is going to be the real problem child of this event, as you can see, because most cars, just like Alex Bowman, really struggle to actually make it through there without running into a bunch of stuff. And because of that, we're actually going to struggle to get going again, because once you get sideways in this thing, it's got such a really weird wheel radius that it's kind of hard to get it going once again. Speaking of the backstretch, you're going to see that both Denny Hamlin and Alex Bowman struggle so much to get through that even though I spin myself around and almost tilt myself over in the process, I will freely bring myself home in first place, bring home my first win of the event. Moving on to the second silver race, you're going to see Alex Bowman turn into a projectile, and then just a few moments later his teammate Chase Elliott is also going to leave his seat. I knew those Hendrick cars were fast, but who was expecting that to come out of them? Everybody's then going to dogpile into this flagpole here for some reason. I have absolutely no idea why, but for the first time, we're actually going to fall out of our sofa, which is a weird statement to say in a racing game. But then as we respawn as Casper the Friendly Ghost, we see Alex Bowman once again having a hard time, so we're going to flip him over one more time, just give him a little friendly nudge. Casual little sofa 360 no scope. Coming down the backstretch to what looked like it was going to be my second straight victory, I actually decided to try and make an interesting go off the ramp, and instead, I immediately died because apparently if you get whiplash, that kind of kills you. Should have thought about that ahead of time. Okay, now this right here is a stupid idea. Not only do the combine harvesters struggle to even make it up to highway speed, but as you're about to see, they also defy the laws of physics, quite interestingly, as I go on one wheel and then bring it back down on four. But unfortunately, the entire track is now blocked. I literally cannot get through. So I'm going to cheat just a little bit here, turn into Casper the Friendly Ghost, and then phase through all of these 10 drivers or so. And we're going to continue on with our race. You're going to start to notice a bit of a trend between the link between this car and this track layout. As you see, once again, we're going to start blocking off the entire road, and so we're actually going to try to just shove these other guys back to the other side to try and create some kind of opening. And fortunately, that does let us through almost, but we're just going to basically be jammed here for the rest of the race, and I guess this is our life now. But after about 24 years of being stuck in purgatory, we are going to make it out of there, and then coming back around, we do manage to slightly find a gap, slip our way through, but unfortunately Kyle Busch has another thought in mind, so he's going to try and do his very best to keep us from advancing. We're actually going to end up on our side once again, having to pull a Casper the Friendly Ghost just to get by. I have no idea what he's trying to do, but he's not even going the right way on the track anymore. Unfortunately, when I come around for the second lap, you're going to see that the roadblock is still there, and unfortunately I can't really slow down in time with this car, and kind of get thrown on into the catch fence, and just like that, our race is over, along with, well, you know, basically half of the rest of the field. So moving on to the second event with the Harvesters, we're actually going to make it through the first turn relatively cleanly, or at least as cleanly as you could expect 17 Harvesters to make it through this corner with. We're then going to see Eric Jones sabotage his teammate, taking a sharp left, assassinating the leader, Martin Truex Jr., for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Just one turn later, we're then going to turn around and see that once again, the same corner has been blocked off entirely. And unfortunately, this is going to probably take me about 40 years to get through, because I can't really go through any of these other Harvesters in my way. We do eventually make it out of there, however, and on the next lap, the track is still completely blocked. We only have 2 health left, so really we don't have much of an option to work with here. So we're just going to, you know what, call it there, and unfortunately, the entire field has managed to wreck out, except for Chase Elliott, so he's basically won on pure attrition alone. We all know that a lot of NASCAR drivers spend a lot of money on their motorhomes when they're at the racetrack, so for the final 2 races of this event, Clint Boyer has chosen to race some very cheap motorhomes around a figure-8 raceway at Madman Stadium. And right off the bat, you're probably noticing that we're basically going 4 wide in the very first corner because this track is very narrow for cars of this size to actually race in. Martin Truex Jr. is going to go head-on into the wall, causing us to pancake Eric Jones' motorhome, thus removing 40 square feet from its overall size. Denny Hamlin is then going to come out of absolutely nowhere, T-bone us in the side, and then probably merge our kitchen and our bathroom into one singular room in the process. Alex Bowman is going backwards for some reason, which is going to take him out of the race. We're then going to skip ahead to the 10th and final race of the All-Star event, and this time we're not going to get off to as clean of a start because right away here in the very first corner, you're going to see several motorhomes actually start to get right up on their side as everybody's starting to beat and bang because we know this is the final chance to grab those last few points you need to become the first ever All-Star champion in the NASCAR Extreme Wreckfest series. Halfway through the race, for some reason, the game is going to decide that I need to be sent to the Shadow Realm for one reason or another, and I'm going to turn into a Casper the Friendly Ghost, and unfortunately, because of all the other cars phasing through me, I'm actually turning into a seizure-inducing motorhome in the process, so we lose a few positions because of that. But we will manage to bring our motorhome back to the finish line in 6th place for the 10th and final race of this event. So after all 10 races, the first ever NASCAR Extreme Wreckfest Series All-Star event winner is Denny Hamlin, quite convincingly as a matter of fact. He was the only driver to have more than 6 top 5s, and Hamlin, along with myself and Byron, were the only 3 drivers to have 9 top 10s out of this event. It's actually pretty interesting if you compare these points to the points of the regular season, where a lot of drivers who are struggling in the regular season standings actually performed pretty well here in the All-Star event. Unfortunately for them, however, none of these points do carry over, so they will have to improve in the latter half of the season if they want any chance of winning the championship here in Season 1. But that is all I have for today's video. If you have made it this far and you did enjoy the video, please consider leaving a like. It really helps me out a lot and lets me know that this is the type of content you would like to see more of. Also consider subscribing if you would like to see more of these videos in the future, and possibly even consider heading over to my Twitch channel. I do stream regularly 5 times a week over there. Feel free to stop on and say hi anytime. I'd love to have a chat with you and just play some games. Either way, I will see you all in the next one.